Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, a very consistent, continuous thread of governance. Councillor Linda.
Thank you. I was actually, that's exactly my thoughts around the process is no different. And so I'm not going to talk about that because Councillor, the Chairman of Finance and Performance has covered that, and that's exactly how we work it, and no one's ever suggested that we take IMSB off the Finance and Performance Committee looking at the LTP. I guess one of my concerns, and being I was not a member of the Unitary Plan Committee, and most of those meetings clash with another commitment I have, so I didn't get to a lot until recent times. So for me, it's really important that as many members who are on that Unitary Plan Committee are around this table making comments, doing whatever they need to do to contribute to this final decision, and that is members of the IMSB. So that's one issue. We don't want to exclude some of those members who are on those significant conversations leading up to what we have in front of us now. So that's one reason I wouldn't want the IMSB to be off that committee. Plus, it's just a really weird thing for anybody to be on a committee and then right at the last minute you go, sorry, you're not on it now, with an expectation. I think also there is a matter of natural justice here. Already we've seen the cultural impact assessments gone. We've seen the sites of importance gone. And a lot of people will be really happy about that. But I guess that'll be something our IMSB will have concerns about. And I think it's important for them to express that. They will want to say something about that. And that's fine. It may not change the outcome at all. But there'll be other members around this table that want to express the issues that they don't like in the document in front of us. So I think it's just about fairness and natural justice. The other thing too that I think is hugely important is if we look around this table, we're supposed to represent everybody in this region. But if you look at our faces, we've got a couple of gentlemen of Samoan heritage, and the rest of us are
represent.
And Māori, yeah. But I mean, it shouldn't all be on our shoulders. But I do think that is something. We don't have elected positions for Māori around this table. I'm not going to debate the rightness, wrongness, whatever, but I just want to say, as someone who is one of the privileged representatives of people of Auckland, we're pretty, European, aren't we? So I think that if we've got a couple of other people that can represent a different view, all to the good. So for me, this is just a process that was always intended to happen. You don't just whip a couple of people off a committee. If you can't do that, we'll say, no, well, we're not going to let you be on it now, so we'll change the rules and we'll do it a different way. We know that the whenua is hugely important to Māori, and that's one of the reasons why they are on the committees that they're on. They're on my hearings committee for that very reason. So let them have that final say. And the reality is, if it's going to be overturned, it's going to be overturned. And they won't get a say at the final hurdle. So people will get their way and not have them making that final decision anyway. So this is just about that process leading up, making sure it's robust. It's got everybody at the table that needs to be at the table. And then on the final day, the governing body will and absolutely does reserve the right to make that decision.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Councillor Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to keep with the theme of it's been instilled within us for several weeks now about the need to be careful, about the need for cautiousness, for conservativeness, and also matched with the need of let's get on with it, to use your terminology. Mr. Mayor, looking at the news last night, the media certainly see this as a national issue, as do we all. And we have the weight of not just Auckland but the country on us. We are now up at, in a parliamentary sense, at the third reading. This now needs to go before the House, as you have indicated. That is where it needs to go, and it does not need to go back to Select Committee. It's been through 3 or 4 years of select committee when you look at the ADC, when you look at the Unitary Plan Committee, and of course when you look at the process of the Independent Hearings Panel. It now needs to go to the governing body as an entity, and I agree with Councillor Fletcher. The advantage of that is that you are elected at large. And dare I say, Mr Mayor, while you've always been pushing for this unitary plan, in recent weeks and months, just what it is to deliver, you've kept your cards pretty close to your chest. I think you are the appropriate person, particularly as you near the end of the term. I believe you are the appropriate person given that your views have been, your views have been kept pretty close to your chest on just the look and shape and form of the unitary plan, and the fact that you've been elected at large. I have to say, Mr Chair, that I see this as totally unnecessary. Some of us pushed for this agenda item to come because it was clear last week that predetermination had already been made. When officers started talking about the 10th of 18th to the 18th as going to committee. I know that that's been contested and the minds were meant to be open, so I opened the agenda last night expecting to see an either-or option to show that open-mindedness and the fact that maybe we'd got it wrong, but no, it was still heading down a particular path. And dare I say, Mr Mayor, it's a path that's been based on promises that have been made, and now the threat of some legal action if those promises are now not delivered. And I don't think, when we reflect on the legal advice that we've had and the cautious approach that we need to take, that operating like that is in the spirit of where we've come to with this unitary plan. So as far as I'm concerned, I believe it now needs to come to the governing body and for you to chair it. It certainly should not be, as you've dressed it up earlier on, as some political legacy project during the local body elections. I see this as belonging to the floor of Parliament in the council sense, which is the governing body. It has been through an arduous, multi-duplicated select process and consultation process. It now needs to come where the IHP on their own website, Mr Mayor, indicates and defines Auckland Council as governing body, not just for the decision making, but for the consideration. They did not say that it must go to the governing body to be rubber stamped at the end. No, they said for consideration, and that is very much the expectation of the public, and it is very much the expectation of all submitters, and it is very much the expectation and intent of the legislation and the government. So I hear what you're saying as far as this has been lived and breathed by the chair of the committee, but also what you've said is it's time for us to step back, and I believe the only way we can step back is for the ADC to complete its work, which one legal opinion says it possibly has, and for you as the Mayor at large of Auckland to take the chair and for the governing body to resume these final and utmost important decisions that need to be made for Auckland and New Zealand. So I certainly will be supporting it going to not a two-tier system for endless duplication, but to get into the spirit of let's get things done, Mr Mayor, let's take it to the governing body. That's the expectation, that's where it deserves to go. And that, I think, will get you a faster result and a better result than what you're suggesting.
Right, Councillor Quicks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. And first of all, I'd like to also acknowledge Councillor Penny Hulse for the work that she's done on this. I probably, Councillor Hulse and I have probably clashed more around the unitary plan or on the Auckland Development Committee on the unitary plan than anything else. And so I want to just acknowledge the work, that hard work that she's done. But I think now the expectation is that this decision will be made and the deliberations will be made by the governing body, the 20 members that are elected by their communities and the mayor, elected at large to lead the city. And so that is the expectation of the community. And I don't think that having it delegated to a committee is what the public would expect. The decision needs the gravitas and the consideration of the governing body. We will come under huge scrutiny, councillors, over the next couple of months leading up to the elections around the decisions that we've made. Right now, there'll be people in their different communities, candidates running for office, who will be scrutinising how we've voted on various issues. No doubt they will want to look at how we voted on this as well as other things. The problem that I have, apart from the conflicted position that the Independent Maori Statutory Board have, is that it defies democracy to have people who are unelected, who are not accountable, sitting in judgment of a plan which is of huge importance to Auckland. It's just not, it just doesn't make sense to have people who are unelected and who are unaccountable to the community. We are all accountable. And at the end of the day, decisions that we made will be scrutinised by the community and we will be judged on those. It's wrong to say that the Independent Maori Statutory Board have not been involved in this process. They have been involved in this process right from the outset, through the Auckland Development Committee, through the Unitary Plan Committee. They have been involved in this process. We have discharged our obligation under the legislation, because the legislation calls on the Independent Maori Board to advise council, not to make decisions, but to advise council on matters of physical and natural resources. So to say that, oh, well, this is the decision we made around financial, in fact, is quite vexatious, because they shouldn't even be on that particular committee.
That's right.
It's quite wrong. And in fact, the government in 2010 sent a letter to the mayor expressing surprise that the mayor had put the Independent Maori Statutory Board members on every committee of this council. They expressed surprise at that. They said that that was not their expectation. And it certainly wasn't their expectation that they would be sitting here on judgment of the most important plan and making decisions.
Sorry, you wish to just point of order?
Yeah.
I just want to confirm that they are not on all our committees?
No, they're not.
Most.
150.
No, well, I just heard
Actually,
all.
that's an aside, councillor Dick.
It's not a point of order. Rule
Yes,
it
it
out.
is.
No, just, well, hang on.
Because he's wrong.
Hang on, yeah, hang on.
I'm
Been
not sure
very
if that's
courteous
the
so
point.
far. Councillor Dick.
Yeah.
Look, I've had so many letters from the government.
Yeah, well,
But I actually, to be fair, I don't really
I've got it
remember.
here.
You've got a copy of it? Have you
Yeah,
got
I've got it
a copy of
here.
it?
You read it out.
Oh, well,
Read it out.
I don't recall putting them on every committee. I think we actually were a minimum number for a start. In the end, it got expanded a bit.
point of order.
Well, now we're
I
putting
get
them
the
on.
general point.
It was not a point of order, and I don't think it needs to be debated any longer.
Well, you were making a comment that I probably needed to reply to.
It was a false comment.
Right, So the two-tier process that's being proposed here is going to provide a more cumbersome process. It's going to be a more cumbersome process. I can just imagine the situation where a part of the unitary plan, as part of the recommendations, have been passed by 1, maybe 2 votes. So that will be relitigated. That will be relitigated, Council, at the governing body meeting if we have a 2-tier process. So it will be more cumbersome. It will be more expensive. And I know that we've got some very fiscally dry councillors around here
Yes.
who want to watch every penny. But don't forget that every meeting we hold in this chamber costs $20,000. So we're actually saying, well, we don't actually need to have a 2-tier process, but we're going to have it anyway, and we're going to spend the money. And we may be actually adding more time in a very constrained time period to be able to do this. If we had wanted, Mr. Mayor, to have this passed by a group that was unelected, we should have just said to the independent hearings panel, this is your decision to make. We won't take any part in the final debate.